Okay, so in this video we'll be looking at the external differences of EJ9's UK spec and EK9's, looking at the pre-facelift and the facelift models, the differences in bumpers, lights, trims, all that sort of stuff. Now, starting off simply between UK spec EJ9's facelift and pre-facelift. Now, you can see here the facelift rear end is smooth with a clear section through the rear lights, and then the pre-facelift has got two bump strips and then an orange part as well as a clear part on the rear lights. That is it for the rear end. Moving on to the front end of the facelift and pre-facelift. Again, we've got the bump strips on the bumper, different bonnet, front wings, headlights, etc. Facelift, you can see it's a smooth front bumper with the two vents that dip in. Now, on these vehicles, the front wings are completely different, bonnets are completely different, headlights are completely different, bumper, grille, etc. Okay, it is a full front end change. Now, comparing the pre-facelift EJ9 versus the pre-facelift EK9 at the rear, obviously you can see here it's got the smooth rear bumper with a rear lip. It's got no rear wiper hole. Also, it's got the different spoiler, the Type R spoiler. Now, on the pre-facelift Type Rs, the EK9 spoiler had an aluminium base plate, and on the facelift EK9s, it had a plastic base plate. I think that might have been to save some weight. Apart from that, at the rear, the pre-facelift EK9 and facelift EK9 exactly the same, apart from the rear lights. The fog light feature on EJ9's facelift and pre-facelift is built in from the factory, but it wasn't built in on EK9. So, as you can see here, they have a constant running light, top and bottom, when the side lights are on, whereas the EJ9s don't. They just have that fog light on the bottom left there that you can see. Popular mod is to convert them to JDM rear lights by adding in two extra bulb holders. I'll show you how to do that in another video. Obviously, the lack of the rear wiper on the EK9s gives it a nice smooth appearance. You can weld up that hole quite easily to achieve that. I have done it before. It does really change the rear end of the car. And now when you're looking at the plate recess, the only difference is that these small little tabs that holds it in place, whereas the EJ9 models, they don't have them tabs, and also the rear plate recesses aren't colour matched like the EK9s are. Now, moving on to the side bump strips on the UK spec EJ9s versus EK9s. Obviously, on the EJ9s, they're not colour matched. On the EK9s, they are. Now, I always thought the EJ9 ones were meant to be thicker versus the EK9, but looking here, they look exactly the same, and maybe it is just the USDM stuff which is thicker. So, as far as I'm aware, between the EJ9 UK spec and EK9, they all have the thin side mouldings. And now looking at the side skirts, obviously the side skirts are colour matched on the EK9s. On the EJ9 UK specs, they're not. Now, moving on to the mirrors, EJ9 UK spec, some have the heated mirror function, some don't. And then the EK9s are power fold. That wasn't an option that I've come across on UK spec EJ9s. Might have been an optional extra that I just haven't come across and hasn't been selected, but they're the two base differences, and obviously they're colour matched as well. So moving on to the headlights. Now, we know obviously between pre-facelift and facelift now that they're a different shape, but between the EJ9 UK spec and the EK9, they're also a different colour inside. Now, EJ9s, they're a very bright chrome inside, whereas EK9s, they're a much darker chrome. Some people modify their lights to look like these by splitting them and either painting them black or like a Peugeot graphite grey, things like that. There's also another difference. The EJ9 UK spec has got headlight adjustment, whereas the EK9s don't. They're fixed position, and then you have to manually adjust them. Now, moving on to the grills. So, obviously, EJ9 grills, there are a few different variations, and obviously they'd fit differently between facelift and pre-facelift. You've got some with a chrome edge and badge. Some of them have a painted edge and badge. Different variations, whatever. But when you look at the EK9 ones, the pre-facelift has no badge in the centre of it and has a metal grille at the back, whereas the facelift EK9, it's got that same no badge in the middle and a grille at the back, but it's a plastic grille at the back, and it's like a two-part grille that screws together, whereas the pre-facelift one's a metal grille fixed to the back of that. And then looking at the front lips between
pre-facelift EK9 and facelift EK9. Obviously, the EJ9's UK spec as standard didn't come with them. Pre-facelift attaches with 2 screws at the end and then some bolts underneath. Same as the facelift, but the lips obviously fit differently because the bumpers are different shapes. You can see the facelift one is a lot thinner versus the pre-facelift one, which like fully sits over the bottom of it there. Now, obviously, you can buy online non-genuine EK9 front lips, but you can see here they've got a square edge, whereas the genuine ones have a curved edge. Now, you can see where this EK9 here had a non-genuine lip fitted, and it does stand out quite a lot. So I would go for genuine over replica if you can, and obviously a fitment's a lot better. The aftermarket ones tend to hang down at the front because they've got not got the correct fixing points and stuff like that. So moving on to the paint codes now. On the EK9s, you had the NH0, which is the championship white, the Y56, which is the sunlight yellow, N853M, which is the VSM or the Vogue metallic silver, and then the NH5N2P flamenco black. The only colour of those which correlates with EJ9's UK specs is the VSM or the Vogue metallic silver. So if you was making a replica or something like that, your easiest bet is to try and get hold of a VSM EJ9, otherwise you've got to do a full respray. So EK9s as standard facelift and pre-facelift come with these wind deflectors on the front windows, whereas the EJ9s don't. EK9s have the red and silver badge front and rear. On the front, it's on the bonnet, whereas the EJ9s, it's on the grille. And then obviously they have the Civic Type R stickers either side and on the boot lid as well. And obviously the EJ9s don't have that. Some of them will have like a Tropica sticker or Illusion or whatever various EJ9 model it is. One final thing, EK9s come with window tint from factory, whereas EJ9 UK specs didn't. I don't know the exact specification of the tint. I do know it is like part of the glass. It's not like a film applied afterwards. And that is it. If anyone knows any other specific things that I've missed or anything like that you guys have come across, do let me know, because I've just gone over my experience and what I know off the top of my head.